Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
A Chatham County woman is charged with animal cruelty after deputies seized dozens of dogs from her property. What the search warrants revealed about the conditions.
An Apex man charged with murdering 2 of his neighbors and killing his dog now faces additional legal troubles. Who's behind a lawsuit against Harry Hardman?
And I'm tracking the next system that's going to bring us some rain by Wednesday. I'll show you how much we could see.
Dozens of animals rescued from their owner's property are now being treated by veterinarians. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Deputies seized more than 3 dozen dogs and arrested the owner after receiving a call from a neighbor. WRAL's Eric Miller is live in Chatham County with what he's learned about the animals' conditions. Eric.
Oh, Renee, we pulled these warrants right here from the Chatham County Courthouse in just the last hour. They're revealing more details about the terrible conditions these dogs were kept in and revealed that 10 charges the owner was facing are actually tied to the conditions of individual dogs. Most of those dogs either mixed breeds or miniature schnauzer, most of them puppies just a few months old. These documents revealing the terrible condition those dogs were found in, many starved, their fur matted with urine and feces. You take a look at some of this video here. This is video from Sky 5 of the property those dogs were removed from. This is in Bear Creek, the Bear Creek area of Chatham County off Oakley Church Road. In total, the sheriff's office says 44 dogs were removed from that property, 6 of whom were found dead. And the surviving dogs are now being cared for at the sheriff's office's Animal Resource Center. Now, the video from Sky 5 shows there are still dogs there on that property this morning. We're working to learn how many dogs are there and why they might have been left behind. Now, the owner in this case, one woman, Alicia Culberson, is facing all 10 of these animal cruelty charges. We know she is due back in court here in Chatham County later this week. Of course, a developing situation. We'll bring you new details as we get them. Renee?
Such disturbing details in this case. Eric Miller reporting live from Chatham County.
A bus driver shortage continues to be an issue for Durham Public Schools. Many families are being asked to find an alternative transportation to get their children to and from school today. WRAL's Ken Smith is here with which bus routes are affected and what the district is doing to solve this problem, Ken.
You know, Jeff, this ongoing issue has many Durham families scrambling today to find rides for their children. So take a look at your screen and make note of the bus numbers just in case this is an issue again tomorrow. The notice says these bus routes aren't running due to staffing challenges. And note, bus 115 didn't operate this morning, but is expected to be available to take students home from school. We're working to find out if today's bus driver shortage is related to the recent pay issues affecting some employees' paychecks, including bus drivers. Many bus drivers have been calling out sick over this issue for the last 2 weeks. Many of them say a recent policy change reduced their pay since the district is now paying people for only their years of experience within the school district. We'll, of course, keep you updated and let you know if all Durham school buses will be back on the road tomorrow. Jeff?
Well, Ken, thanks for that. They'll still work through a lot of that because the shortage of drivers comes on the same day Durham Public Schools announced its acting chief financial officer. She's currently the senior executive director of financial services for DPS. She previously worked in the Wake County public school system. Current CFO Paul Lesueur resigned Friday after an overpayment error with school staff members. His resignation takes effect January 31st.
Our next front is crossing the country now and will arrive midweek. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is on the WRAL weather patio with a look at the timeline for a wet Wednesday. Before that, a sunny Monday.
Yeah, it's nice out here. It's a little bit on the chilly side. We're going to talk about the cooler temperatures that arrived late yesterday, coming up in just a few minutes. But let's take a look at what's going on. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see that low pressure system and that front that's starting to drop southward. That's the system that's headed our way to bring us some rain on Wednesday. We'll bump it ahead and take a look at what's happening out there. And we're looking at that system moving on through. We'll notice it has its source up there near Canada. And when we have a low pressure system with its source there, air. It's moving across land, and it doesn't have any real good source of moisture. So many times when we see a lot of heavy rain, it's because our low pressure system has its source down in the Gulf of Mexico or off the Atlantic. So this one is not going to bring a lot of heavy rain to us. You can see it drop southward by Wednesday at 6 a.m. We're looking at some scattered showers, and we'll see that rain on and off up until around the middle of the afternoon. Then it moves southward, and that'll be the end of it. High pressure moves in, and that's going to be our best chance for rain this week. We take a look at Futurecast, and we'll kick things off Tuesday at 5 o'clock. We'll see increasing clouds. We'll see our warm front starting to drift down to the south. We'll see a few light showers during our morning commute, and then a few scattered showers that continue up until around lunchtime. But all in all, this looks like it's not going to bring us a whole lot of rain. It's going to be a 40% chance late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, and about a 60% chance during the day on Wednesday. Coming up, I'll talk about how much rain we'll see and how much cooler our temperatures will be this week.
Elizabeth, thanks. The man accused of brutally murdering 2 Apex women earlier this month is now being sued by his landlord. Court papers filed by Harry Hardman's landlord says there were bullet holes all over the townhome on Brussels Drive. It also states that Hardman killed his own dog inside the home and that the place was damaged throughout. Hardman remains in the Wake County Jail under 2 counts of murder as well as charges of animal cruelty.
It's been exactly 2 weeks since Nancy Taylor and Gabrielle Raymond were shot and killed in their Apex neighborhood. Today, the community will gather to honor their memory. WRAL's Laura Levine explains how tonight's event is another way the town is honoring these 2 people.
Tonight, the town of Apex will light that water tower on Hunter Street purple to show that symbolic color of healing. I spoke with Mayor Jock Gilbert, and he tells me it was really the community who encouraged these next steps to support the families. They're going to gather here at Town Hall, many people wanting to come together to remember the 2 lives cut short. 69-year-old Nancy Taylor and 37-year-old Gabrielle Raymond were gunned down in their neighborhood. After this unspeakable tragedy, Apex Town Council held a moment of silence at last week's meeting. Mayor Gilbert tells me tonight's vigil was organized by the police department as well. The mayor, Police Chief Jason Armstrong, and a spokesperson from both families will share remarks.
Apex is all about unity, and not just, during times that we can celebrate things, but when there's moments of uncertainty, it's crucial that we come together. No one needs to be isolated. We need to take steps together in healing. And this is an opportunity to do that.
The suspect, Harry Hardman, will be back in court on Monday, February 5th. As we know, he did live in the same neighborhood as the victims. The vigil begins at 5:15 tonight. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Apex.
A sad update to a story we reported earlier this month. Retired Raleigh Fire Lieutenant Raymond Harold passed away yesterday morning from pancreatic cancer. Lieutenant Harold spent 30 years with the Raleigh Fire Department. Friends remember him as a kind, godly man with a heart for service. Neighbors, former co-workers, and church members lined the streets of Garner to show their love and respect before his death. Plans for a memorial service have not been announced.
One of the 4 teens killed in a Johnson County crash last week will be laid to rest today. A funeral is happening at the Bridge Church in Smithfield for Samaj Williams. Today's service follows a visitation for Williams at Sanders Funeral Home. There was a funeral service for one of the other victims, Freddie Saris, on Friday. Alan Lockamy and Christopher Jackson were also killed Monday in the single vehicle crash on I-95.
3 American soldiers were killed. More than 30 others were hurt in a drone attack on a U.S. base in northeast Jordan. It's unclear why air defenses failed to intercept that drone. NBC's Bree Jackson has reaction from lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
3 American soldiers killed and at least 24 injured in a drone strike in Jordan. President Biden calling for a moment of silence during a campaign stop in South Carolina.
We lost 3 brave souls in an attack on one of our bases.
While the facts are still being gathered, in a statement, the president says the attacks were carried out by radical Iran-backed militia groups operating in Syria and Iraq. Lawmakers agree.
Clear, according to what the White House is telling us, that this was instigated by radical extremists funded by Iran.
This attack marks the first time U.S. service members in the Middle East were killed in the months of strikes since the Israel-Hamas war began. and is seen as a dangerous escalation.
These are drones that are packed with explosives and then detonate upon impact. But to have that type of the number of casualties suggests that it was a fairly sizable one.
The White House says the U.S. will hold those responsible to account at a time and in a manner of our choosing. There's also pressure on the administration to take decisive action against Iran for backing the militia behind the deadly drone strike.
I think the Biden administration now is going to have to rethink the general strategy. Deterrence is not working.
President Biden vows to take action.
He said we'll respond. We absolutely will. We'll do it at a time and in a manner of our choosing.
A sentiment echoed by defense officials who say attacks on American forces will not be tolerated. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
And since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, militant groups have been targeting American forces in Iraq and Syria, with more than 160 attacks against bases with American troops.
Next at noon, happening right now, a hearing about potential jury tampering in the Alex Murdaugh double murder case in South Carolina. What it means about a possible retrial.
Also, the shopping cart of the future, how this device can help people knock out their grocery list and stay on budget.
Plus, detecting the early onset of Alzheimer's. At 12:30, the link between vision and identifying memory loss.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
A hearing is underway in South Carolina to decide whether convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh should receive a new murder trial. He's serving 2 consecutive life sentences after a jury found him guilty of murdering his wife and youngest son. NBC's Sam Brock explains why Murdaugh's attorneys say he's entitled to a new trial.
Guilty. Less than a year after being convicted of killing his wife and youngest son, Alex Murdaugh will now be back in a South Carolina courtroom.
And he may be taken away.
Trying to get his highly publicized 6-week case retried.
Specific evidence about what was said, when it was said.
The judge overseeing the hearing, a former state Supreme Court justice, laid out basic ground rules for exploring scathing accusations the clerk of court, Becky Hill, tampered with the jury, and debated with Murdaugh's attorneys about who should be testifying, with the defense hoping to bring in alternates.
These people are witnesses to what the court said to the juror who deliberated.
Our focus will be on the jurors that heard this case, and not on either that alternate.
One juror writing in a sworn affidavit, Hill told them not to be fooled by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys, and also look at his actions and look at his movements, which I understood to mean that he was guilty. 10 other jurors did not make those accusations in their affidavits. One didn't submit one at all, and Hill herself denied the claims, writing in her affidavit, "I did not tell the jury not to be fooled. I did not instruct the jury to watch him closely. I did not instruct the jury to look at his actions." But before the accusations, Hill was surprisingly vocal and public.
There were just so many things that happened behind these doors of justice that the whole world would be so interested, I think, to know.
Promoting her book, Behind the Doors of Justice, on NBC affiliate WSAV.
I think Alex got the justice that he deserved.
Murdaugh's attorneys arguing a conviction would have boosted her book sales, providing a possible motivation for tampering.
Craig, anytime there's outside influence in the sanctity of the jury room, it is improper.
Last Friday, one juror already testified due to a scheduling conflict.
State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
Shortly after the trial, a trio of jurors sat down with Savannah and Craig, explaining what pushed them to guilty.
Well, the witness testimony was very believable, and the kennel video definitely played a major part in his testimony.
Sam Brock reporting. 3 days have been set aside for the hearing if needed, but the judge has said she hopes the entire proceeding will be finished today.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, the Dunn Police Department is asking for the public's help in a murder case, help in the murder of Brandon Giles. Yesterday, Brandon Giles was shot in his driveway on North Ellis Avenue in Dunn. He was transported to the hospital where he later died. Police have identified this man here, Cornelius Webb, as the shooter. He is still on the run this afternoon. He is considered armed and dangerous. Police say he was driven to the location where Giles was shot, and in this car, this red 4-door sedan, that is the car that the Cornelius Webb was in. If you see this man, if you see Cornelius Webb, you were asked to call police. They say do not approach him because he is considered armed and dangerous.
Russian figure skater Kamila Valieva has received a 4-year ban from competitions for doping. The Russian team finished first in the figure skating's team event at the 2022 Winter Olympics. It was later discovered that Valieva tested positive for a banned heart medication that increases performance. The verdict from the Court of Arbitration for Sport means the U.S. team, which finished second, is set to be named Olympic champion instead. The Super Bowl 58 matchup in Las Vegas may give fans a bit of deja vu. That's because the Kansas City Chiefs will take on the San Francisco 49ers in a rematch of the 2020 Super Bowl game. The Chiefs took down the top-seeded Baltimore Ravens 17-10 in the AFC Championship game. The defending champs will go to their 4th Super Bowl in the last 5 years. Over in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers managed to come back to outlast the Detroit Lions 34-31 to win the NFC Championship. It's their second trip to the big game in the last 5 years. Super Bowl is on Sunday, February 11th.
And get ready for the Battle of the Blues Part 1. This Saturday marks the 261st basketball meeting between UNC and Duke. And to mark the occasion, ESPN's College Game Day basketball pregame show will be coming to Chapel Hill. The hour-long college basketball pregame show will be live starting at 11 a.m. from the Dean Smith Center. The event is free. Tip-off is scheduled for 6:30 Saturday night.
You saw those Carolina blue skies there over Franklin Street and sunshine all across the Triangle. Let's get out to Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio on how long our normal temperatures will be lasting. Elizabeth.
All right, we're taking a look at these beautiful blue skies I'm out here on the WRAL weather patio. It's also a little bit breezy. You can see the flag there at Roxborough. Earlier this morning, or earlier just a few minutes ago, it was like standing straight out breezy. So it's really gusty out here. I have my anemometer, which of course is what reads the wind speed. And my hair was blowing all around and it was still only reading about 3 miles an hour. So I think I'm standing in a little bit of a protected spot here. But we're definitely looking at some cooler temperatures as compared to what we've seen over the weekend. We'll take a look at the temperatures and put that into motion. You can see currently it's 54 degrees in the Triangle area. We'll likely climb up to around 55, 56 for this afternoon. Our dew point's down at 32, which just means that it's a very dry air mass in place right now. But the sky is absolutely gorgeous. We're just a little bit on the blustery side out there. We take a look at our wind speeds and gusts. We're gusting to 25 right now in Rocky Mount, 21 in Raleigh, 19 in Roxborough, and our winds are steady anywhere from about 10 to 15 miles per hour, unless you're standing right beside a building, which is where I am, and I wasn't able to pick that up on my anemometer. Here's a look at our futurecast wind gusts. If you're not in a sheltered spot, we're of course seeing gusts at 20 to 25 right now, and we'll see those dying down as we get into the evening. Looking at 5 p.m., we're down to about 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts, and from there we'll continue to see that dropping as we get into the overnight period, and it shouldn't be as breezy tomorrow. We take a look at our temperatures. It's 50 in Roxborough, 56 in Fayetteville, 56 in Rocky Mount, 55 in Clinton right now. And if you remember, we started off really warm on Sunday morning yesterday, and then we saw the temperatures dropping really quickly. Well, those temperatures dropped first up around Roxborough and South Hill, so they're actually a little bit warmer right now than we were this time yesterday. But if you look at Fayetteville and Clinton and Goldsboro, anywhere from 10 to 15 plus degrees colder than we were this time yesterday. Around town, looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for this afternoon. Lots of sunshine. It looks beautiful out here, but it is a little bit cool. It's comfortable to have the jacket on. Our wind is coming out of the northwest, and you can see those blue arrows. That's the wind direction, and they're shaded blue because we're seeing some cooler temperatures cruising in. 32 is our normal low for this morning and tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning, we'll hit that 32. And then after that, we're looking at slightly warmer conditions. Wednesday, 38, Thursday, 36. And that temperature on Wednesday is significant because we're going to see the rain moving in. It's likely to be a wet commute on Wednesday morning. Temperatures look like they'll be above freezing. We'll keep our eye on it. it because it will be close, but there's no reason to believe that we'll see anything frozen. 53 is our normal high. Our coldest day will be Wednesday at 48, the coldest day of the next 5 days. And then our temperatures bounce back up to 60 on Friday, which looks like a really nice way to kick off the weekend. We take a look at our temperatures as we get into the weekend and beyond, and take a look at our 7-day forecast. And you can see we're going to be looking at 56 today, 51 tomorrow, 40s on Wednesday, and then 60 on Friday. We do see temperatures cooling off a bit on Saturday and Sunday. Wednesday, we're going to see rain, as we mentioned, but it doesn't look like a lot. I'll show you how much we're expecting in the rain gauges coming up.
All right, Elizabeth, thanks for that. Franklin County dog kennel owner is facing more charges, more than a dozen new charges after an animal cruelty investigation. How your tips led to her being taken into custody for a second time. It's on WRAL News at 5:30.
Then at 6, a Raleigh artist's design stolen and sold on a shopping app. The action Temu says it's taking to stop this type of theft after 5 on Your Side started asking questions. Could this be the shopping cart of the future? How this device is helping shoppers build their basket and stay on budget.
Plus, runners know the importance of buying the right shoe to prevent injuries and provide support. Now engineers are working on a design that could predict how your running shoes fit you.
Tax season kicks off today. We'll tell you what you need to know before filing. And the first Fed meeting of the new year gets underway this week. Those are among today's business headlines with Maribel Aber.
The Federal Reserve's first meeting of the year kicks off tomorrow. It's a 2-day event, and the Fed will announce its decision on interest rates Wednesday afternoon. The Fed is expected to issue multiple rate cuts this year, but not with the first meeting. Some on Wall Street believe the late March meeting might be the first rate cut, if not then, the May meeting. But all that could change when Fed Chair Jerome Powell answers questions about the Fed's thinking Wednesday afternoon. The Biden administration is expected to announce billions of dollars in subsidies to computer chip makers. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. It says Intel and Taiwan Semiconductor are among the companies who will receive the aid. The money will help the chip makers build new factories in the U.S. Intel already has 3 projects underway in Arizona, Ohio, and New Mexico. The subsidies are aimed at boosting manufacturing of chips for smartphones, artificial intelligence, and weapon systems. Tax season kicks off today as the IRS starts accepting 2023 federal tax returns. And tax pros say among the first things you'll want to do is pull out last year's return. That's going to give you a starting point for what documents you'll need this year, and consider what big life changes like marriage or buying or selling a home occurred in 2023. Those may affect a refund or how much you could owe the IRS when you file by the April 15th deadline. And those are your business headlines. I'm Maribel Aber at the NASDAQ Market Site.
Instacart's AI-powered smart cart is rolling out at select grocery stores. Caper carts will soon give shoppers more customized recommendations and introduce experiences to help them discover new brands and products. Here's how it works. Each cart is equipped with 4 cameras facing upward that can detect the items instantly. The cart lights up green when you put an item in the basket. The price of the item and your total appears on the cart. Even it weighs produce, too.
Caper, which is an AI-powered shopping cart that makes shopping seamless, bag as you go, skip the line, but it also does valuable things like displaying on-screen totals so you can keep track of how much you're spending. It shows you discounts, deals, coupons, new products, and recommendations, things that really help you build your basket and stay on budget.
As some say, the new carts make shopping more of an adventure for the entire family.
Coming up in our next half hour, we'll lay out the 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and the next steps that could bring him to trial in the U.S. Senate.
Also this noon hour, the health risks for pregnant women on vegan or plant-based diets and the effects on newborns. And here are your winning NC Education lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number 1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
House Republicans released 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
These new articles are set to be reviewed in committee tomorrow and then would need to be adopted by the full chamber in order to put Mayorkas on trial in the Senate and potentially remove him. NBC's Guad Venegas reports.
As the influx of migrants continues at the southern border, Washington hoping a deal to stem the tide could be close.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly.
President Biden and lawmakers working on a bipartisan deal to expand the president's authority at the border. Lawmakers hopeful it can pass.
We do have a bipartisan deal. We're finishing the text right now.
This despite former President Trump opposing the deal.
I'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. A bad bill you can't have.
Mr. Trump condemning the deal in a flurry of Truth Social posts over the weekend, claiming without evidence there will be major terror attacks if migrants continue to come in. Other Republicans pushing back.
Donald Trump, the last thing he needs to do is tell them to wait to pass a border deal until the election. We can't wait one more day.
And it comes as Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott is in a standoff with the federal government, denying federal agents access to an area in Eagle Pass that's been the epicenter of the migrant surge. Now surrounded by a fence and razor wire, the state even adding more razor wire after last week, a Supreme Court ruling gave Border Patrol agents the power to remove it. Republican governors from 25 states signing a letter supporting Texas.
Texas should stand their ground.
All this as House Republicans unveil articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans allege that Mayorkas displayed a refusal to comply with the law and accuse him of making false statements and knowingly obstructing lawful oversight of the Department of Homeland Security. DHS blasting the move, calling it an unconstitutional, evidence-free impeachment.
As Guad Venegas reporting, even if convicted in the Republican-controlled House, it is unlikely the Democratic-controlled Senate would find Mayorkas guilty of any crimes. If he were impeached by the House, he would be the first cabinet official in 150 years nearly to go through that process.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, some breaking news. The man who stole and leaked former President Trump's tax records is going to jail. This man here, Charles Littlejohn, was just sentenced to 5 years in prison, which is the max for the crime. Back in October, he pleaded guilty to unauthorized disclosures of income tax returns. He leaked Trump's records as well as thousands of the nation's wealthiest people's records while working for a consulting firm with contracts with the IRS. He leaked the information to 2 news outlets and then proceeded to delete the documents from his IRS assigned laptop before he returned it. Again, he will spend 5 years in prison.
The Biden administration may slow weapons sales to Israel as a way to convince Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to scale back the military assault in the Gaza Strip. The Pentagon has been reviewing what weaponry Israel has requested that could be used as leverage. They said no decisions have been made. Some Democrats in Congress have been urging the administration to do more to pressure Netanyahu and other Israeli officials to minimize civilian casualties. The U.S. State Department is warning Americans to use extra caution if they vacation in the Bahamas. The security alert comes after NASA recorded 18 murders this year. Travelers are advised to keep a low profile and be aware of their surroundings.
Nearly a year after a woman was killed by a hit-and-run driver in Durham, her family is still looking for answers. 45-year-old Taishia Gurley was hit by a driver who did not stop. She was walking home from work on Liberty Street and died from her injuries. Durham police say they've made no progress in this case. It's one of 3 hit-and-run cases in 2023 that remain unsolved. A vigil for closure and justice is scheduled for February 24th on Liberty Street. Durham police is asking anyone with information regarding this case to give them a call.
And back here in the Live Center now, we have an update on some Durham bus routes. Several more have been canceled this afternoon since you've heard from Ken Smith at the top of the hour. The school district just provided 25 more bus routes that will not be running this afternoon. They do have the list on their website. You can also find them on our website. And then Durham Public Schools also said that parents can sign into the parent portal. They will provide updates there as well. They have apologized for the inconvenience.
Trying to give parents a heads up, but they're going to have to scramble to find transportation for their kids. Raleigh leaders are working to reduce crime downtown. Today, we'll get an update on how some new safety measures are working in the Glenwood South area and the solutions to move forward. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains business owners want to see change.
It's no secret that crime is up here in Glenwood South, and today the Raleigh Police Chief will meet with the Glenwood South Business Alliance to talk about potential solutions. But let's put this increase in crime into perspective. The city released new data from Raleigh Police. It shows police seized 61 illegal guns from October to December last year, almost triple the amount of guns seized during the same time period in 2022. That data only includes guns seized in Glenwood South, no other areas in Raleigh. Raleigh Police Chief Estella Patterson will further break down these numbers today. She's working with the Business Alliance to find new ways to prevent crime and increase safety measures. We'll keep you updated on what comes out of this meeting, but it will be closed to the public. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Chief Patterson will also talk about efforts to reduce noise in the area. Starting Saturday, fines for noise ordinance violations in the city will more than double, from $100 for a first offense to $250. City Council voted to make that increase earlier this month. This comes after people who live in and around Glenwood South complained about loud music and the hustle and bustle of nightlife. But this new noise ordinance applies citywide.
King Charles and the Princess of Wales are both recovering at home following planned medical treatments. The princess underwent planned abdominal surgery January 16th. The 42-year-old princess has canceled her public engagements until after Easter. The king was admitted to the same hospital Friday for an unspecified procedure to treat a benign prostate condition. A new campaign effort by President Biden is looking to unite him, his predecessors, and the Democratic Party. It would be a first-of-its-kind fundraiser that will allow 3 Democratic presidents, Biden, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama, to appear together at an event this spring. That's according to sources familiar with the discussions. Right now, they're trying to coordinate the president's schedules. No date has been set, but sources say it would likely be in March or April.
Still to come, a way to screen for Alzheimer's earlier. We'll explain how a vision test could help detect signs of the disease.
Plus, a running shoe, custom not just to the runner, but custom to the distance of the race. Why this could really up your running game. If you see news happening or you'd like to share a story idea with us, just click Report It in the WRAL News app.
Tracking vision issues could help determine early onset of Alzheimer's. 94% of patients diagnosed with posterior cortical atrophy, or PCA, also had Alzheimer's. Symptoms of PCA include failure to recognize people, difficulty reading lines of text, and inability to judge distances. It's the second most common presentation of Alzheimer's following memory loss. PCA presents itself more often in women. Symptoms begin to manifest around the average age of 59. Some women who follow a vegan or plant-based diet run a higher risk of developing high blood pressure during pregnancy and having underweight babies. The research carried out at the University of Copenhagen analyzed data from more than 68,000 pregnant women. It found that babies born to vegan mothers were half a pound lighter than babies born to mothers who ate meat. Scientists suggested low protein intake might be tied to low birth weight.
USA Hockey is now requiring neck protection for all players under the age of 18. This comes after a professional player in England died after an opposing player's skate blade cut his neck during a game. The new rule requiring neck laceration protection will be enforced in games and practices and for on-ice officials.
Happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we have an update to a story that we brought you earlier in the newscast. Preliminary reports suggest that the enemy drone that killed 3 U.S. service members in Jordan was mistaken for a U.S. drone. That is why the U.S. did not immediately shoot it down. This was the area where it was shot down here. And the preliminary reports suggest that the enemy drone was flying at a low altitude. A U.S. drone was also flying in the same airspace, returning to this base. That is why the U.S. did not shoot that down. Iran denies being behind that strike.
A class action lawsuit says 23andMe hackers specifically targeted Chinese and Jewish customers. The suit accuses the company of failing to notify customers whose personal information was sold on the dark web. In October, the company notified the California Attorney General's office that it was hacked from late April through September 2023. Federal data shows the divorce rate for Americans over the age of 55 has doubled since 1990. One sociologist says women are more likely to start divorce proceedings. Both men and women experience financial declines when they divorce later in life. Standards of living for men fall off by 21%, and for a woman, they drop even steeper, 45%.
A French tourist returned home with a hefty souvenir after a visit to the Crater of Diamond State Park in Arkansas. Julia Navas traveled to America to see a rocket launch in Florida before making his way over to Arkansas to scavenge for diamonds. Well, after digging for 4 hours, another visitor recommended that he look on top of the soil instead. And after another few hours, he spotted what he initially thought was nothing.
I walk 3 hours and I find something. I don't think it's a diamond because it's brown. So I think it's a regular crystal.
Turns out that brown crystal was actually the 8th largest diamond registered at the park since its creation. Navas plans to turn the 7.5 carat diamond A pretty view in Durham as we take a live look at the American Tobacco campus, the cottony clouds and blue skies, lots of sunshine. You're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
Veterinarians in Chatham County are treating dozens of animals rescued from their owner's property. Deputies seized more than 3 dozen dogs and arrested the owner after receiving a call from a neighbor. In total, the sheriff's office says 44 dogs were removed, 6 were found dead. One woman, Alicia Culberson, is facing all 10 charges in this case.
3 American soldiers were killed. More than 30 others were hurt in a drone attack on a U.S. base in northeast Jordan. It's unclear why air defenses failed to intercept the drone. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin expressed his outrage and sorrow over the incident. Authorities are still working on notifying next of kin for the 3 soldiers killed.
Raleigh Police Chief is meeting with the Glenwood South Business Alliance today for a conversation about reducing crime. RPD started putting more officers in Glenwood South area September, and since then there's been a drop in crime there compared to the same time the year before. The meeting is tonight from 7 to 9.
The North Carolina aquariums are taking a week to refresh, so they'll be closed to the public. We're talking about the aquariums at Fort Fisher, Pine Knoll Shores, and Roanoke Island. Staff say they will use the time to tackle projects, improve animal care, and make sure the aquariums sparkle and shine for the residents and visitors. The aquariums will reopen Saturday at 9 a.m. Advance tickets are required to visit.
2 environmental activists face charges after spraying pumpkin soup all over the glass that protects the Mona Lisa. A group called Food Counterattack said it wanted to draw attention to hunger in France. Protesters are calling the government to give citizens a food card worth about $162 per month. The museum closed the building where the work is displayed to clean that barrier and then reopened to visitors. Bullfighting returned to Mexico City Sunday, but some groups are not happy to have the event back. Protesters gathered outside the arena to show their distaste for the sport. About 300 people drummed, chanted, and held signs voicing their disapproval. There was even a die-in, despite some groups being against bullfighting. The National Association of Fighting Bull Breeders in Mexico estimates the sport is responsible for nearly 230,000 jobs.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Get out and enjoy some of the blue skies out there. Have a great day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.